Sit down. Right now. Not in a little while. Not after you handle one more thing. Not after you reply to that text that's been sitting there. Now. I know you. I know the pace you've kept all these years. I saw every step you took when you were running on empty. I saw every morning you got up even when you had nothing left to draw from. And that's why I'm telling you myself. Stop. Sit down. Because what's about to arrive can't be received standing up, running, trying to earn it by your own effort. You receive it still, recognizing who you've always been. Something is going to happen in the next few days that will rewrite everything you thought about waiting. And when it happens, you'll understand why it took so long. Stay until the end. Because before this message ends, you're going to know the exact name heaven has already declared you to be, and you're going to have in your hands the protocol that will teach you how to sit down and receive instead of continuing to chase after what's already been delivered. I know you woke up at 3 a.m. It wasn't a noise outside. It wasn't a nightmare. You just opened your eyes in the dark, and there you were, in a vigil you didn't ask for, in a silence that weighed differently than daytime silence. The house quiet around you, and you awake in the middle of it, your mind starting to work before you gave it permission. And what went through your head at that hour wasn't the thinking of someone at peace. It was the inventory of everything still unresolved, of everything that's pending, of everything that seems to depend on you, and that's going to need energy you're not sure you'll have. You lay there for long minutes, staring at the ceiling or to the side, trying to fall back asleep, knowing you probably wouldn't make it before the alarm went off. And when the day started, you just went. Because that's what there was to do. I know you smiled right. You learned the art of arranging your face before you went out. The art of walking into the room, giving the right answers, asking the right questions, getting through the entire conversation without letting anything slip of what you're carrying inside. And you got so good at it that sometimes you even forget yourself for a few hours. But when you get home, when you close the door and take off the mask, the tiredness that comes is different from physical tiredness. You seek. You dedicate yourself. You do everything right, and yet abundance never comes. And the worst part? You start wondering if you're doing something wrong, if you're being heard up above, if it's meant for you at all. It's not a lack of faith or worthiness. It's a spiritual blockage that ordinary prayer alone cannot break. The Miracle Journal unblocks this in 21 days with a spiritual protocol that works exactly where your prayer doesn't reach. Along with the journal, you'll also receive as a gift the prayer guide and the Psalms manual, with the most powerful sacred practices and texts to deepen your transformation. To claim your version of the journal, tap the link in the comments right below this video. Take off the mask. The tiredness that comes is different from physical tiredness. It's a tiredness that sleep doesn't fix. It's the tiredness of having maintained a version of yourself that isn't entirely true for longer than was fair. I know you have a list. It's not written down anywhere, but it exists. The list of what hasn't arrived yet. The promise that seems suspended in the air. The prayer you've said so many times you don't know if you still have the faith to say it again the same way. The situation that should have been resolved by now and still isn't. You keep counting one thing at a time, in a silence that hurts, because it's a lonely silence. Because there are things you can't explain to anyone without sounding like someone who's complaining, when what you are is simply tired of waiting without understanding. I know you looked at someone else moving forward and stood there trying to figure out what you're doing wrong. It wasn't envy, because you're not that kind of person. It was the honest question of someone who's dedicated, who hasn't stopped, who did what they were supposed to do. That person isn't better than you. They didn't try harder than you. They didn't pray more than you. And yet something opened up for them that hasn't opened up for you yet. And the silent comparison hurts in a way you can't put into words without sounding like you're putting the other person down. So you swallow it. And you keep running. You're still standing. Still. After all of this, after all those nights and all those days and all that wait, you're still standing. And that's no small thing. That's huge. That's the proof that there's something inside you that didn't give up even when everything was screaming at you to quit. The like on this video is your public amen. Heaven registers what you confess out in the open. Now I want you to hear 3 promises. They're not promises that it's going to get easy. They're promises that what you understand about what you're living through is going to change completely before this message ends. The first, the tiredness you feel isn't failure. It's not the sign that you can't handle it. It's not punishment for some mistake you made. It's not evidence that you don't have enough faith. It's the sign that the old phase is over and nobody had the courtesy to tell you. You're still running a lap that's already finished. The tire spinning on asphalt that's already behind you. And the body knows when a phase is over. That's why the tiredness has that different quality, that texture of exhaustion that doesn't go away with ordinary rest. Because it's not tiredness from distance. It's tiredness from the wrong direction. The second, today you're going to receive a protocol. It's not another to-do list. It's the opposite. It's the exact protocol for how to sit down and receive instead of continuing to rip out by your own strength what's already been prepared to be given. This protocol has 3 steps, and none of them involve doing more. All of them involve stopping the right thing so that the delivery can happen. The third, before you leave here, you're going to be able to say out loud the name of the identity that heaven has already sealed on you. It's not going to be something you earned. It's not going to be something you won by the race or by years of effort. It's going to be something you finally recognize as yours. Something that was always there, waiting for the day you'd stop running long enough to see it. I placed you here because this word is for you. I know how many times you kept standing when you already had permission to sit. And now the time has come. Close your eyes for a moment. You can look away from the screen for a second. Breathe deep, for real, all the way down to the bottom of your lungs. Because what I'm about to tell you requires you to be fully present. I want to show you 4 signs. 4 signs that heaven is moving you into the biggest change of your life. And I need you to hear each one with honesty, because the mind has a habit of reinterpreting what the spirit knows, and what looked like a problem might be exactly what you needed to recognize as a sign. First sign, you woke up in the middle of the night for no apparent reason. You already know what that's like. The silent vigil at 2, at 3, at 4 in the morning, with no noise, no nightmare, no identifiable reason. You called it insomnia. You called it anxiety. You called it built-up stress from the day. It makes sense that you called it that, because that's what it looks like when you're inside it. But what it really is on a spiritual level is different. It's the spirit processing a change that the mind doesn't yet have words to name. When heaven is moving deep layers of your identity, when it's reorganizing what you're going to carry in the next phase of your life, sleep gets fragmented because you're not just sleeping. You're being reorganized. The quiet early morning isn't abandonment. It isn't heaven disregarding your tiredness. It's a construction site. It's the moment when the foundations are being laid to bear the weight of what's coming. Second sign. You felt a strange discomfort with things that used to satisfy you. This might have come in different ways. The show you loved that now feels hollow. The environment that used to feed you and now drains you. The conversation with the same people about the same things, and the feeling that something doesn't fit anymore. That you've gotten too big for that container and you don't yet know what container you've been growing into. You tried to force the enthusiasm. It didn't come. And you asked yourself if you were becoming difficult, if you were becoming ungrateful, if you were losing the ability to enjoy what you have. It's not ingratitude. It's not depression. It's not spiritual frivolity. The discomfort with what used to satisfy you is tuning. When God is preparing the next level, the current level gets tight, like clothes that don't fit anymore. Not because you became ungrateful for the clothes, because you got too big for them. The discomfort isn't an alarm for a problem. It's a warning of growth. It's the sign that you no longer fit where you were. Third sign, a sudden urge came to stop everything and be silent. In the middle of the week, in the middle of a task you were doing, in the middle of a conversation you were having, something in you just wanted to shut up, wanted to sit down, wanted to be still without having to justify it to anyone, without having to produce, without having to respond, without having to be available, just still. You resisted because stopping seemed like laziness. Stopping when things aren't resolved yet seemed irresponsible. Stopping at a moment that calls for movement seemed like weakness. It's not weakness. It's not giving up. It's not the sign that you're irresponsibly giving in to tiredness. It's the body obeying an order that came from above before the mind understood it. When God says sit, the body feels it before the mind processes it. The desire to stop isn't a sign of defeat. It's the reflex of someone who's about to receive something that needs space to land. The next sign is the hardest one to hear. It's the one the enemy spent the most time trying to make you ignore. Because if you understand this sign, the game changes completely. Fourth sign: a strange peace arrived in the middle of a problem you still haven't solved. You were in the middle of a situation that should have been consuming you. The bill that won't balance, the answer that didn't come, the relationship that still hasn't straightened out, the door that still hasn't opened. And in the middle of all of that, a stillness appeared that made no sense at all. A peace that had no rational explanation. You were suspicious of it. You thought it was advanced emotional exhaustion, that phase where a person stops feeling because they've already felt too much. You thought it was numbness. You thought you had simply exhausted your capacity to worry. It wasn't numbness. It was a signature. The peace that passes all understanding doesn't arrive after the problem is solved. It arrives before. It arrives as an advance confirmation that, regardless of what you're still seeing with your eyes, heaven's decision has already been made. The change has already started on the inside. What you're still waiting to see on the outside is already sealed above. When that peace appears in the middle of the storm, it's not a sign that you've lost your sensitivity. It's a sign that something was confirmed at the level where eternal decisions are made. If one of these signs came to you, write "free" in the comments. Close your eyes for a second. Breathe deep. Bring your attention back here. What I'm about to tell you won't work if you're divided between this message and another screen, another worry, another task. Just you and this word. There's a story in the pages of Scripture that almost doesn't make sense on the first read. A man named Gideon is hiding inside a wine press, threshing wheat in secret so the enemies won't find the food. The people are living under oppression. Everything planted, everything raised, everything produced is taken before it reaches the hands of those who worked for it, and Gideon is inside there, in an enclosed space, doing the smallest task he can imagine, in a state of fear disguised as pragmatism. It's exactly at this moment that an angel appears and says to him, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." Mighty warrior. To a man hiding in a hole, trembling with fear, doing everything in secret just to survive. Not mighty after he became brave. Not mighty when he proved he deserved the title. Mighty now, at this moment, inside the winepress, with fear present and oppression real. Gideon didn't understand. His response was the response of any honest person in that moment. How can I be called a mighty warrior if I'm the least in my family, from the smallest tribe, with no visible sign that I'm fit for this? He wasn't being falsely modest. He was describing the reality he saw, and God didn't answer the question. God simply confirmed the declaration, because the identity that heaven declares doesn't depend on the perception the person has of themselves at the moment of the declaration. It doesn't wait for proof. It doesn't wait for the person to feel ready. It doesn't wait for the external situation to change. The naming comes first. The life that follows is the process of learning to answer to the name that was given. What heaven called you before you saw yourself ready is what you are, not what you're going to become when you finally deserve it. What you already are. Now imagine a pilot bringing a plane in for landing. The plane is in cruise. High altitude, cruising speed, engines at full power. And in this mode, the plane works well. That's what it was built for during most of the journey. But the time has come to approach the runway. At the moment of descent, the last thing the pilot does is maintain cruising speed. The engines are throttled back. The speed drops in a controlled way. The landing gear comes down. The trajectory is calculated with precision so that the aircraft touches the ground at the right point, at the right speed, at the right angle. If the pilot decides to accelerate in this phase because he feels he's losing power, because the reduction in speed seems dangerous, because the logic of cruise is still active in his mind, what happens isn't safety, it's a crash. The speed that works at 30,000 feet destroys on the runway. You're in approach. The delivery is happening. And what heaven is asking for isn't more acceleration. It's the controlled reduction that allows what's coming to land safely in your life. The order to sit isn't abandoning the mission, it's the landing condition. Write Gideon in the comments if God called you by name before you saw yourself ready to answer. Let me pause for a full minute. You've been running for years thinking you had to earn what was already yours. That approval had to be earned. That identity had to be proven in the field before it could be worn. That the next level had to be ripped open by the effort of someone who has no guaranteed right to anything. And the signs kept coming. The waking up in the middle of the night, which you called insomnia. The discomfort with what used to satisfy you, which you called ingratitude. The desire to stop, which you called laziness. The strange peace in the middle of the problem, which you called numbness. You called each thing by the wrong name, not because you were stupid, because you were too deep inside to see what was from outside. The signs weren't alarms for a problem. They were warnings of arrival. They were the antechamber of what's coming. And the peace in the middle of chaos isn't common. It's not something that happens to just anyone in any situation. It's specific. It's the signature of a decision made at the level where things are decided before they appear in the visible world. What's coming isn't a reward for your effort. It's the delivery of an identity that heaven had already sealed before you were born. You didn't earn this by running. You're going to receive it by sitting. What you're about to hear isn't a human title. It's not an achievement. It's not the result of years of dedication added up and converted into recognition. It's what I call you when I speak with heaven about you. These names weren't assigned by your performance. They were engraved before any choice of yours, before any right move, before any wrong move. And today is the day you stop running from who you are and start sitting inside what has always been yours. First identity, you are the chosen by origin. Before any effort of yours, before any choice you made, before any right or wrong decision, before any season of faith or doubt, I set you apart before you went out into the world. In the womb, before any test, before any accumulated merit, I already knew your name. I had already decided the purpose. I had already traced the path. You didn't emerge into a neutral world that had to adapt to your existence. You were placed with specific intention into a world that needed what only you carry. Not an improved version of you. You, the way you are, with the experiences you've lived, with the wounds you've gone through, with the process that formed exactly what the next level is going to need. I saw the question you carried for years. The silent question that appeared in moments of comparison, in moments of difficulty, in moments of rejection. Do I deserve to be here? Is there a mistake, a cosmic mix-up, a wrong assignment that put you in a place that wasn't meant to be yours? I answer now, once and for all. The question is wrong. You're not here because you deserve to be. You're here because I sent you. And what I send doesn't need to deserve presence. It needs to recognize calling. What this identity authorizes is simple and carries the weight of eternity at the same time. You stop trying to prove you deserve to exist in the plan. You stop asking permission to occupy the space that heaven reserved. You stop apologizing for the presence that heaven deliberately positioned. The chosen by origin doesn't enter asking for permission. It enters recognizing that permission was granted before any request. Second identity. You are the crossing over through process. There are nights you didn't understand anything about what was happening. It wasn't a lack of faith. It wasn't an absence of prayer. It was simply the real darkness of someone inside a process that has no signage on the outside. The silence that felt like abandonment. The bill that wouldn't balance for months. The prayer that went to the ceiling and stopped. The situation that should have changed and didn't. And even so, you didn't let go. I saw every one of those nights. I saw when you tried to explain to someone what you were feeling, and the words came out too small for the size of what was inside. So you stopped trying to explain. You learned to carry it in silence. You learned to show up whole when you needed to show up and to process alone what had no witness. And you kept going anyway. I saw every mile run without a map. Every step taken in the dark with the logic of someone who doesn't know where they're going but knows that stopping would be worse. I saw when you messed up and came back. When you doubted and kept going. When you asked to stop and didn't get permission to stop because there was something inside you that couldn't give up even when you wanted to. That wasn't weakness disguised as strength. That was formation. What looked like delay was work. What looked like silence was preparation. What looked like abandonment was process. What this identity authorizes is that you start trusting that the delay was formation, not punishment. That the years that seemed lost were invested in the place where what's coming is going to need support so it doesn't collapse. The crossing over through process wasn't forgotten. It was forged. And what was forged has a resistance that what was bought will never have. Third identity. You are the bearer of the change. I need you to hear this with the seriousness with which it was spoken. What's coming isn't just for you. I saw this from the beginning. When I chose the path you walked, when I let the formation be long and the process be deep, it wasn't a whim. It was necessity. Because what is being delivered in your life doesn't end with you. It passes through you to reach people you don't even know yet. People who are waiting for what you haven't yet received. Situations that only get resolved when the bearer enters the field. Paths that only open when the bearer is positioned. I saw that what's coming passes through you to reach others. There are lives that are on hold. There are people who need someone who crossed what you crossed to be able to say with authority what you're going to be able to say. Your story isn't an inconvenience on the path. It's the credential of the calling. That's why the wait was long. It wasn't punishment that the process took time. It was that what you carry is too heavy for an exhausted vessel. The mission of the bearer requires a rested vessel. It requires someone who learned to sit. It requires someone who stopped running long enough to realize that what they carry isn't weight, it's presence. Write in the comments the name of the identity you just received. The chosen by origin, the crossing over through process, the bearer of the change, or all three. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, subscribe now. What's coming in the next videos continues this word. I want to give you a protocol today. It's not a list of more things to do. It's the opposite of everything you've been conditioned to try. The name of this protocol is the seat of the chosen. 3 steps, straightforward. For today. Step 1. Sit. Physically now, at the moment you finish hearing this. Find a chair, a couch, the floor if you have to. Sit with both feet on the ground and stop every attempt to fix anything for today. Not out of laziness, not out of avoidance, because there's nothing that needs your running today. The order that came from heaven was sit. And disobeying an order of rest is just as serious as disobeying an order to advance. Step 2. Name out loud, in a low voice, the phase that's ending. Not as a defeat, as an honorable farewell. Say the name of the thing that's leaving. The phase of running to earn. The phase of proving what was already proven. the phase of asking permission to occupy the space that was already yours. Say the name and let it go. Not with effort and drama, with the lightness of someone who finally realizes they didn't need to be carrying that for a long time. Step 3. Say the name of the identity you received today. In a low voice, like someone recognizing something they always knew but had never said out loud. The chosen by origin, the crossing over through process, the bearer of the change, or all three. And then be silent. Don't expect euphoria. Don't expect intense emotion. Don't expect chills or tears as a sign that it worked. Expect stillness. The stillness is the sign of confirmation. When the piece that doesn't make sense arrives, don't question it. Don't try to verify if it's real. Don't test it with another worry to see if it holds up. That's heaven responding that it's received. That what was declared was registered. If you're receiving this protocol, write "received" in the comments. In the next 72 hours, 3 things will be launched against you. Not as a possibility, as a certainty. The first is false urgency. It will arrive like a very convincing voice saying that if you stop now, you lose everything. That the moment to sit is exactly the most dangerous moment to rest. That you can't afford stillness when so much is at stake. This voice will use your own commitment as a weapon. It will remind you of everything that's pending, of everything that depends on you, of everything that could fall apart if you take your foot off the gas for a moment. It will paint rest as abandonment. It will paint sitting as negligence. It's not the voice of heaven. The voice of heaven doesn't produce urgency that steals peace. The voice of heaven might ask for movement, might ask for action, might ask for advance. But it never produces that anxiety that pulls the ground out from under you. When false urgency arrives, the seat of the chosen is the response. Sit again, and the urgency passes. The second is unworthiness. A thought will arrive very well dressed as humility. It will whisper that what you received today is too big for someone like you. That other people are more prepared, more studied, more anointed, more qualified. It will sound like healthy realism. It will sound like modesty that prevents presumption. It isn't. It's the enemy using the language of humility to pull you away from the identity that heaven declared. The chosen by origin wasn't declared based on your size. It was declared based on the size of the one who called you. The crossing over through process doesn't depend on your personal ability. It depends on what was formed inside you by the process. The bearer of the change isn't qualified by itself. It's qualified by what it carries. When unworthiness arrives disguised as humility, respond with the name you received. The third is immediate distraction. Exactly on the day you receive the peace. Exactly on that day when everything got quieter inside, a noisy problem will appear from outside. An unexpected event. News that wasn't supposed to arrive. A conflict in an unexpected place. A real urgency that demands immediate response. It's not a coincidence of timing. It's strategy. The noise is sent to drown out the confirmation, to pull you off the seat before the delivery lands completely. Recognize it for what it is. Name it. Don't ignore it. Don't pretend it doesn't exist. But don't change the decision to sit. The problem might be real and still not require you to abandon what you're receiving to solve it right now. Sometimes the answer to the problem is also in the seat, and there's the internal enemy. The voice from inside, disguised as maturity, that says, "This peace you're feeling is just exhaustion. Tomorrow, everything goes back to normal. You felt this before, and it passed. You know things don't change like that, overnight, from watching a video." This voice sounds reasonable, sounds adult, sounds like the voice of experience from someone who's gotten excited before and been disappointed before. It's not maturity. It's denial disguised as wisdom. It's the voice that uses your past disappointments as an argument to keep you from receiving what's different this time. Write "protected" in the comments. The decree has been sealed. Now I need you to do something before this message ends. Sit with both feet on the ground. Place one hand over your chest and close your eyes. Stay like this for a moment. There's no rush. There's nothing else that needs your attention for the next few minutes. Just you here, present, and what heaven wants to deposit before the day continues. There are loads you've carried up to here that don't need to go with you into the next phase. I'm going to name some, and for each one I name, you let it go. The rush to earn, the constant race to prove you have the right, to demonstrate you've dedicated enough, to show up with no blank spaces on the resume of faith. The performance of someone who still doesn't believe they can simply receive without earning it first. You let go of that rush now. Not because you won't dedicate yourself anymore, but because the dedication that comes from someone who has already received is different from the race of someone who is still trying to earn. The fear of not being ready. The recurring thought that there's always one more preparation needed first. One more qualification. One more stage of maturity. One more process to go through before you're sufficient for the calling. The voice that says, if you still feel this and that, it's because you're not ready. You let go of that fear. Because Gideon wasn't ready when he was called mighty. And he was called anyway. The weight of the phase that's already ended. The loyalty to a rhythm that served its purpose well. That was right for the time it was right, but has already fulfilled what it was meant to fulfill. The commitment to a version of you that was necessary and real and good, but that isn't who you are anymore. You let go of that weight, not as a betrayal of what was, as an honor to what's coming. I know you in a way that goes beyond how you know yourself, and I want you to know today, in a way that you don't leave this message without having it sink deep into you. I saw you wake up at 3 a.m, that specific early morning you remember, when the silence was especially heavy and your mind started working before you gave it permission. I was there, not as a distant observer. I was in that silence. I was in the weight of that vigil. And what was processed in that early morning wasn't pointless anguish. It was reorganization. It was the chamber where the foundations were laid while the world slept. I saw you smile when you were breaking inside. I saw the performance of wholeness you maintained in environments that asked you to be okay. I saw the cost of that. I saw how much that division between what appeared and what was inside wore you down over time. I wasn't asking you to pretend you were okay. I was holding what you couldn't hold on your own. Every time you went beyond what you had strength for, it was because I was underneath the weight with you. I saw the nightly inventory. Every item on the silent list. The promise that seemed suspended. The prayer that seemed to have no echo. The situation that still hasn't resolved. I heard every single one. They weren't ignored. They weren't forgotten. They were placed in the right time, which isn't the time that seemed urgent to you, but is the time in which the delivery will make sense in a way that hurry wouldn't allow. And I saw when you looked at someone else moving forward and felt the silent pain of not understanding what you were doing wrong. I want you to know now, once and for all, you weren't doing anything wrong. You were in the right process for the right delivery. The other person's path isn't your path because the other person isn't you, doesn't carry what you carry, wasn't called to what you were called to. Their timing isn't the right timing for you. I didn't delay you on a whim. I protected you from arriving before you were formed to hold the weight of what was prepared for your hand. What's coming isn't a reward for your effort. It's the delivery of an identity that heaven had already sealed before you were born. You didn't earn this. You're going to receive this. And receiving requires a different posture than the one you were trained to maintain. You are the chosen by origin. Set apart before any choice, before any test, before any merit. Called with specific intention for a space that only you fill. You are the crossing over through process. Every night you kept going without understanding was formation, not punishment. What looked like delay was investment in what the next level is going to need so it doesn't collapse. You are the bearer of the change. What's coming doesn't end with you. It passes through you. And for that, you need a rested vessel. You need to learn to sit. And I say now, with the same authority with which I called Gideon mighty inside his hiding place, before any test, before any result, before any battle, sit. You are ready. What's coming is already arriving, and you are positioned to receive. Now, before you write in the comments, say it out loud. Say, I sit down. What's coming is already mine. Say it again, firmer, like someone making a declaration that heaven is hearing. I sit down. What's coming is already mine. What was delivered here has been delivered. It is done. Write done in the comments. Not as a habit, as confirmation of what has been received. There's a person in your contacts list that you know who is running tired. Someone who gets up every day trying to earn what's already theirs. The name came to your mind while I was speaking. Send this video to that person now, not to a group, to that specific person. And if you want to keep receiving what heaven is releasing in this season, the next video continues this word exactly where this one ended. Click on it now. It is done. You are not the same person you were when this message began. You seek. You dedicate yourself. You do everything right, and yet abundance never comes. And the worst part, you start wondering if you're doing something wrong, if you're being heard up above, if it's meant for you at all. It's not a lack of faith or worthiness. It's a spiritual blockage that ordinary prayer alone cannot break. The Miracle Journal unblocks this in 21 days with a spiritual protocol that works exactly where your prayer doesn't reach. Along with the journal, you'll also receive as a gift the prayer guide and the Psalms manual with the most powerful sacred practices and texts to deepen your transformation. To claim your version of the journal, tap the link in the comments right below this video.